Good evening. I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor, and it's currently Wednesday, July 22nd, just a minute or so after 7 o'clock. My apologies, I'm a little late today. I wanted to touch base on today's events that affect the way you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. Now, the question for today is, can you enjoy the hammock life? Now, I'll get to that in just a few minutes, but as we've been starting everything since early in March sometime, we touched base on the COVID cases because the COVID situation right now is the single biggest thing that's driving everything pretty much in the world, but definitely here in the US. COVID is the thing that's affecting everything. That is the reason that other things are happening. Now, right now, there are 3,884,000 cases in the US. That's up 56,000, 56.7 actually, thousand from yesterday. Of the total number of cases, again, basically 30% have recovered, and about basically just under 4.4%, 3.87 thereabouts, have actually died from COVID. The total deaths right now in the US are 142,756 people have died. That's another 939 people have died since yesterday. Now, on a little bit of strange news, New York has always had the highest number of cases. Right now, as of today, California is taking that number one spot. Right now, California has more cases than anybody else in the United States. Right now, they're at 409,598 cases, confirmed cases. That's up basically 13,000, just under 13,000 cases since yesterday. Their deaths right now are at 7,890. That's another 110 since yesterday. New York has got the second highest at this point in time. They had it first for quite a while. Right now, total cases in New York are only at 408,886. They picked up an extra 855 cases or so since yesterday. So they're making some major strides. The deaths in New York State are right now at 32,526. That means from yesterday, this point in time when we spoke last, only 6 people have actually died in New York from COVID. A major, major improvement over a lot of other places. Now, Florida remains the number 3 spot, and things are happening there like no one can believe. Texas has got the number 4 spot. New Jersey remains at number 5. Illinois is at number 6. Georgia is at number 7. Arizona is at number 8. Massachusetts has moved back to number 9. And Pennsylvania has moved back into the number 10 spot. Okay. They dropped yesterday, but their case numbers have went up just a shade. So things continue to heat up. Okay. And as more and more, people are starting to realize that COVID is sort of serious. It's a real problem. And they notice as the cases rise across the country. Now, the disease, the coronavirus has killed right now over 142,000 people in the US by itself since February. The number of cases are increasing in most states and actually soaring in some. The overall daily death toll has declined from April through early July, largely because of the sharp decrease in New York and New Jersey. Remember, they did major shutdowns. But by July 10, after all the states that actually begun to reopen, the death numbers began to tick up again for the first time since March. Now, health officials have really anticipated a rise because the virus had really been accelerating through the more populous states such as Texas and California and Florida. Been doing that for weeks. The localities reported not only a surge in cases, not only a surge in new cases, but also large increases in hospitalizations, crowded ICUs, and a jump in the percentage of positive cases. None of that's really good. Now, the United States right now is topped 50,000 new cases in one day for the first time on July 1. 2 days after the country's top infectious doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, warned that the country could begin to see 100,000 new cases a day if this doesn't turn around. Now, because there is no national coordinated response or reporting at this point in time. The criteria for reporting deaths continues to change in some states and cities, and the numbers tend to fluctuate, okay, as jurisdictions really adjust the way they're counting and reporting their procedures. Now, for instance, in mid-April, New York City added more than 3,700 deaths of people who were presumed to have coronavirus but were actually never tested. And New Jersey added more than 1,800 on June 25. Now, health officials, including Dr. Fauci, in earlier testimony had said that the virus has killed more people than the actual official death tolls indicate. And that also came out yesterday. I mentioned a new study came out last month where the death tolls and the case numbers are being underreported almost by a factor of 10 to 20 in some states. Okay, so people keep saying, well, these numbers are inflated. These numbers are actually low in relation to real things, and they're getting a better handle on that. But again, without a national response, it's really, really difficult to get coordinated numbers. And without the coordinated numbers, you can't make any plans. Now, this COVID has really hit communities of color especially hard. Okay, the virus continues to kill even in New York, but at a much, much slower pace than it had, originally from its peaks. Okay, in the spring when more than 1,000 people died on some days. On July 12th, New York City went from 20 in a 24-hour period without any COVID deaths at all for the first time since March. Right now, the new epicenters are in the Sun Belt, where they account for basically 25% of all the new cases worldwide, particularly in South Florida. Alarmed by astounding increases in stresses on their healthcare systems, governors in several states have really begun to pause reopening plans and in some cases actually reimpose restrictions, such as closing bars and restaurants. What a surprise. Meanwhile, outbreaks in smaller areas still continue to rise in summer camps, prisons, factories, and other workplaces. Okay, and on some college campuses as the athletes showed up for summer workouts. Now, in the absence of a federal plan to control the virus, some health officials, governors and mayors, and corporations have actually championed the need for wearing masks in hopes of squelching, rampant transmission. By mid-July, masks were required, not just in hard-hit urban areas, but in states such as Oregon and Alabama, and in major retail chains like Walmart, CVS, Kroger's, and Publix. Now, more deaths continue to be among people basically 65 and older with underlying health problems. However, by late June, the virus was really surging right through a younger population. It was sort of unexpected. On June 20th, Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida said the median age for Floridian with COVID was now down to 37. Researchers have also linked the disease to a mysterious and deadly inflammatory syndrome in hundreds of U.S. children, an indication that much more is still totally unknown about this virus and in a way it affects different people. Now, these kids get these strange multi-system failures. They don't know what the hell's going on with it. And some people, some kids, they carry the virus. They don't even appear sick at all, but they still carry an active virus. So you want to send these kids back to school? Hey, that's okay. Send them back to school. But what about the teachers and the other kids? Okay, one kid's affected by this thing, has no symptoms whatsoever, infects the rest of his class. They go home and infect their parents, along with the teachers. All of a sudden, the schools are shut back down again. So some serious things need to be done before schools physically open. Now, in sparsely populated areas that don't have huge raw numbers of cases or deaths, but the cities are actually reporting the highest number of deaths per capita. Okay. People in small rural areas are more likely to die of flu than urbanites, may be more vulnerable to COVID right now, despite all the divisions, okay, of the Confederate flags, the statues, and the president's private federal unmasked, unmarked police force. unlawfully pulling peaceful protesters off the street in unmarked vans, illegally holding them in undisclosed detention centers, okay, without any due process at all. Even with all that going on, the COVID situation has gotten so bad that people are actually starting to notice. For the first time, okay, populations in red states that initially denied the pandemic completely called it fake news. Now, because they were spared in the first few months, now they're starting to notice because their friends, families, and coworkers became sick, hospitalized, and actually started dying. And then the county officials and the governors began to notice and believe that as their hospitals and their ICUs began to fill up, okay, COVID could no longer be denied. And finally, after 7 months of saying it was going to go away by itself, like a miracle, President Trump is finally changing track on the coronavirus after a long period in which public opinion of his response has really drifted downward, taking his chance of re-election with it. Now, on Tuesday, he held the first White House press briefing focused again on the pandemic since April. Now, there was a much more somber assessment than before. He acknowledged that the situation, and I quote, unfortunately, would get worse before it gets better, unquote. And despite all evidence to the contrary, he insists that his administration will stop at nothing to save lives and shield the vulnerable. That has definitely not been the case. Now, the previous day, Trump had, for the first time, tweeted a photo of himself wearing a mask and hailing this as a patriotic thing to do. Well, Trump had long sought to play down the pandemic's threat, and he did not entirely abandon this approach on Tuesday, repeating his insistence that COVID would ultimately just disappear. Now, there is no evidence, okay, that this is going to disappear anytime soon. There's just no real physical evidence of that. More than 140,000 people in the U.S. have already died. Many states are currently dealing with a resurgence of cases they've never seen before. Even people close to Trump have urged him to take a more realistic and proactive tone. However, there is dismay within his orbit, not only that his sagging poll numbers and ratings, but the way he earlier handled his efforts to present an optimistic face on this crisis have actually backfired. Trump's initial failure to comprehend the seriousness of the problem now looks like a catastrophic misstep. One infamous example came on February when he said the total of 15 people that were known to be infected in the U.S. at the time was going to be down close to zero within days. Now, this attitude is perceived to have fed into other problems, such as early shortcomings in testing that continue to this day and have contributed to the United States faring far, far worse than many other nations. Even in the over-fractious world around Trump, there are murmurings of discontent about the performance of other key players. Late in April, the prediction of the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, that the nation would be largely back to normal by June and really rocking again by July is one of the examples cited most often. Now, the danger for Trump is that the negative public perceptions of his response to this crisis have already solidified. Republicans already acknowledge the challenges and hope that the president can still turn things around. Referring to Trump's return to the White House briefings on the topic, a high GOP level strategist said, I think it's just a recognition that the story is not going to go away and it's going to be with us for a while. There was hope that summer might lead to a brighter period, and that just hasn't happened. If they listened to the scientists, they would have known that. However, on the economic front, the Senate Republicans on Tuesday said that they're, looking for another round of stimulus payments in the upcoming pandemic bill, dramatically really increasing the likelihood that more checks were going to go out to help Americans and combat the effects of COVID-19 outbreaks. And the Democrats had already previously endorsed the idea, so it was already there. Now, Republicans have not really identified how much the payments should be or who would be eligible to receive them. The plan to release the legislation is going to be coming in the next few days, hopefully. And a House bill, however, passed in May, Democrats called already for $1,200 payment to go to adults and $1,200 per dependent child up to 3 children, phased out with individuals with incomes above $75,000 and couples above $150,000. Now, the support for new stimulus payment marked a thin area of agreement in negotiation between the White House and the Republicans and the Democrats on Capitol Hill. All three of them really agreed, just barely, on that one issue. Now, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said they're all just waiting for Republicans to put forward a bill. The Democrats had chided the GOP right now for not being able to even agree among themselves on a plan. There are areas of agreement, and they're becoming clear. Okay. There is support for continuing enhanced payments for unemployment payments, but those payments are due to expire at the end of the month. However, that $600 payment right now, they plan on whittling that down. Nobody knows what that's going to be. The Trump administration prefers a payment below about $300, according to administration aid. However, the House Democrats are really open to reducing the $600, or perhaps just reining it to people deemed to be the most in need. Now, however, any additional income qualifications could really slow down how quickly the money could make it out and start reducing the effectiveness of actually putting the money out at all. Another area of agreement among lawmakers on Capitol Hill, at least, is opposition to President Donald Trump's plan for payroll cuts. Now, Democrats and Republicans both say the idea is dead on arrival because it doesn't actually help anyone who isn't already getting a paycheck. The proposal, has support from only a handful of Republicans in Congress. Republicans have also pushed back on the White House proposal to cut the funding for COVID testing and trying to tie school funding to reopening. But schools that do not fully open will not get as much money because they face additional challenges to provide transportation and meals while trying to social distance. Now, Senate Republicans are really insisting on liability protections for businesses that reopen amid the pandemic, an idea that Democrats obviously don't like because they'd rather ensure that workers get some protection. House Democrats want funding for state and local governments, but Republicans right now oppose what they think is a bailout of states led by Democrats. What a surprise. There's a lot of red states right now that are not having a good time, and their money is going to start to shore up, be very, very short, in a very, very short period of time. Unlike the federal government, states can't print money. States have to run on a balanced budget. No tax dollars coming in from payroll taxes because people are out of work. More money going out for unemployment. Less money coming in from state tax revenues from sales taxes and other sales taxes in a state. Where's the money going to come from? The typical American way is to cut payroll, and the states will end up doing that. And the payroll that they cut are basically fire, police, and teachers and sanitation people. All essential people. Now, White House Republicans are really hoping for a bill that costs about $1 trillion, while Democrats feel that more funding is actually needed. Now, so there you have it. Day in, day out, day after day, month after month, the politicians continue to go back and forth. The president is constantly coming up with something new and so outrageous that he hopes you forget the previous things that he did or didn't do. The pandemic just rages on right now. People are just starting to believe it's real, and maybe the simple use of masks and social distancing is probably the easiest and quickest way to actually get the economy back open again. Now, it's enough to get your head spinning constantly. And that really brings me to the question for today. Okay. Can you enjoy the hammock life? I know it's a strange question, but just stay with me for a second here. As the news gets stranger every day, and you may wonder if it's ever going to let up, you may be looking for some solace, someplace, something. Okay. This could be it. You probably didn't know that today is hammock day. And why would you really care? Well, if you're 50 plus, and I'm sure the idea of retirement may have crossed your mind at least once by now, just a guess. And it could be the all-consuming thing in your life at this point in time. Relaxing in a hammock with a cool drink in the shade is really a pleasant thought right now. Okay. And not a bad thought for at least a few days of your retirement. However, it's often a daily grind for thousands of people just to get through the week. And you know you'd rather be doing something else, almost anything else, instead of going to work today. You know that the 30-year plan is saving $1,000 a month for 30 years to retire at 65 with $1.2 million. Just hasn't really seemed to work out for you. The idea of retirement seems further away with each passing day. How many times have you told yourself that you'll be working till the day you die? Well, based on your current retirement savings, you probably weren't kidding. If you or someone you know is in that position, all is really not lost. There's still a chance that you can have the quiet, relaxing day, or several of them, in that hammock. There's still a chance that you can have the ability just to go away for a long weekend, decide that you like where you're at, and just stay for a week or a month and not have to worry about that job or the limited amount of money that it actually generates. Now, if you're 50 plus, you know that what you're doing, the same thing, harder and faster or longer, is going to get you where you currently are right now with an underfunded retirement account. And as the days dwindle away, you also know that you only have a very short window of time to take an objective look at where you are and what you need to do today to make a significant difference in your life. Now's the time. It's really time right now to reassess where you're at, what you're doing, and get the changes you want in your life, along with the money, so you can actually enjoy instead of trying to survive your life. Do it today. Your hammock and your ultimate secure, worry-free retirement are actually waiting for you. I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor. My only goal is to help you to get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. Now, if you're ready to take control of your life, your time, and your money so that you can give yourself the best option to retire in the next 3 to 5 years with the cash flow you'll actually need to maintain the lifestyle you want and do the things you want to do in your life without ever having to worry about the money or job again, go to my site, drrousenow.com. The video there, take a peek at it. See if it makes sense to you. See if I can help. Okay. If you think I can, schedule a call and we can chat. Again, go to drrousenow.com and take a peek. See if they think I can help you or not. Okay. Schedule a call and we'll see if you actually have a need or not, if I can actually help you or not. And third, do we both think that we can work together? If you do, that's great. We'll give you a link and we might let you in. Okay. If we don't agree on those 3 things, don't worry about it. Nobody's going to pressure you to do anything on a call. You can't buy anything on the call anyway. It's not what I do. So anyway, a little bit after 7 right now, close to 7:30. I've had a good time with you tonight. I look forward to spending some more time with you tomorrow, and we'll see what new crazy things happen in the world and talk to you then about them. Thank you.